My name is Kaylee Winston, 72 years old, and a retired elementary school teacher. I never imagined my own son would betray me for money. At the bank that Tuesday morning, Jason placed a pen in my trembling hand, while his wife Amanda squeezed my elbow painfully. "Just sign, Mom. It's a routine procedure." Their smiles never reached their eyes, as they posed for security cameras ready to empty my life savings. Before signing, I slipped a desperate note to the teller, "Help, I'm under duress." Let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe to hear how I outwitted my own flesh and blood. I spent 40 years teaching third graders to read and write at Pinewood Elementary School. The children kept me young, their innocent questions, and boundless energy filling my days with purpose. When my husband Frank passed away 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I thought that was the hardest thing I would ever face. We had been married for 47 years. The silence in our modest 3-bedroom colonial home was deafening at first, but I adjusted to living alone. Our mortgage had been paid off for years, and Frank had always been meticulous about our finances. "You'll be comfortable, Kay," he had promised, in his final months, squeezing my hand. "Not wealthy, but you won't have to worry." And he was right. Between my teacher's pension, Social Security, and our savings, I had approximately $450,000 set aside. Not a fortune by any means, but enough to maintain my independence in my golden years. I could afford my medications, keep up with home repairs, and even treat myself to dinner with friends at the local diner once a week. My son Jason had been my rock after Frank died. He would call daily, bring groceries on Sundays, and help with household tasks Frank had always handled. Jason works as an accountant, and he had inherited his father's head for numbers and careful planning. He was always the sensible one, even as a child, saving his allowance while other kids spent theirs immediately on candy and comics. "Mom, have you considered downsizing?" he would ask occasionally. "This house is awfully big for just you," but I would always smile and shake my head. This was the home where I had raised my family, where every corner held memories of Frank and our life together. I wasn't ready to leave. Everything changed when Jason married Amanda 3 years ago. I had been delighted at first. Jason was 42 and had been alone too long after his divorce from Jessica 10 years earlier. Amanda was younger, in her early 30s, stylish and confident with a dazzling smile. At their wedding, she had hugged me tightly. "I've always wanted a mother figure in my life," she had whispered. "My own mom left when I was young." My heart went out to her, and I welcomed her into our family with open arms. But looking back, I should have noticed how her eyes lingered on my wedding ring, a 2-carat diamond that had been Frank's grandmother's. I should have paid attention when she asked detailed questions about my house and whether I planned to leave everything to Jason someday. Last year, I suffered a minor stroke. It wasn't severe, thank goodness, but it left me with a slight limp and occasional weakness in my right arm. My mind remained sharp as ever, but my body had begun to betray me in small ways. That's when Jason and Amanda's behavior began to change. Their visits increased suddenly. They were at my house 3 or 4 times a week, always looking through my mail when they thought I wasn't watching, asking about my medications, my doctor appointments, my banking information. "We just want to help you manage things," Mom, Jason would say. "You shouldn't have to worry about all this paperwork at your age." At first, I was touched by their concern. My son was looking out for me, just as Frank had instructed him to do. Amanda would bring me home-cooked meals and sit with me flipping through old photo albums, asking about family heirlooms and their histories. "This silver tea set is beautiful," she commented one afternoon, running her fingers over my mother's prized possession. "It must be worth a lot." "The value is sentimental," I replied, but noticed how her interest dimmed at my words. The first real moment of doubt came 6 months after my stroke, when Jason suggested moving my finances to a joint account. "It would be easier for us to help you pay bills and keep track of expenses," he explained, showing me some paperwork he had already prepared. "You wouldn't have to worry about anything." Something in his tone made me hesitate. Frank had always told me to maintain my financial independence no matter what. "Never put all your eggs in one basket, Kay," he would say. So I smiled at my son and told him I would think about it, tucking the papers away in a drawer. That night I took them out and read them carefully, shocked to discover they would give Jason complete access to all my accounts with rights of survivorship. If I signed these papers, my life savings would essentially become his. A chill ran down my spine as I tucked the documents away, wondering if I was overreacting or if my own son was trying to take control of my money. The changes in Jason and Amanda's behavior became more noticeable and concerning over the following weeks. One Tuesday morning, I received a call from my doctor's office confirming a consultation I hadn't scheduled. "Yes, your son called yesterday," the receptionist explained. "He mentioned you've been experiencing some confusion lately and wanted Dr. Miller to evaluate your cognitive function." My heart sank. I hadn't been experiencing any confusion. Why would Jason tell such a lie? When I confronted him that evening, his expression darkened momentarily before he smiled. "Mom, you forgot our dinner plans last week, and you've been misplacing things around the house." "I'm just concerned, that's all." I hadn't forgotten dinner plans. They had never been made. But Jason spoke with such conviction that for a moment I questioned my own memory. Amanda chimed in, her voice syrupy sweet. "We've noticed you getting a little forgetful, Kaylee. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It happens to everyone as they age." I was 62, not 92. My mind was as sharp as it had ever been, yet they spoke to me as if I were a child, exchanging glances over my head when they thought I wasn't looking. The first physical items disappeared about a month later. My mother's pearl necklace, which I kept in my jewelry box, vanished after one of their visits. Then a pair of diamond earrings Frank had given me for our 40th anniversary. When I mentioned the missing items, Amanda suggested I had misplaced them. "You probably put them somewhere safe and forgot, Kaylee. Let's look together next time." But we never did look together, and more items continued to disappear. Small things at first, then larger ones. My silver tea set, Frank's collection of rare coins, family photographs in their silver frames. One afternoon I came home early from my weekly bridge game with friends because of a headache. As I approached the front door, I heard Jason's voice through the open window of my study. "We need to get access to Mom's money sooner rather than later," he was saying. "The market's hot right now, and that investment won't wait forever." "Your mother is so stubborn," Amanda replied. "Maybe if the doctor declares her incompetent." I froze on the porch, keys in hand, unable to believe what I was hearing. My own son was plotting to have me declared incompetent to gain access to my savings. I quietly backed away, got into my car, and drove to my best friend Margaret's house, tears streaming down my face. Margaret had never particularly cared for Amanda. "There's something calculating about her," she had told me after first meeting my daughter-in-law. Now, as I sobbed in her kitchen and recounted what I'd overheard, Margaret's expression grew grim. "Kaylee, this is elder abuse. Financial exploitation. You need to protect yourself." "But he's my son," I whispered, my heart breaking. "My only child." "And he's trying to steal your life savings," Margaret replied firmly. "Love him all you want, but don't let him rob you blind." When I returned home that evening, Jason and Amanda were waiting, concern etched on their faces that didn't reach their eyes. "Where have you been, Mom? We've been worried sick. You didn't answer your phone." I lied and told them I had lunch with friends, and my phone battery had died. That night, I noticed Jason checking my purse, looking at the receipts from my day out. He was monitoring my movements, I realized, with growing alarm. Over the following weeks, my contact with friends diminished dramatically. Jason or Amanda would answer my phone, telling callers I was resting or not feeling well enough for visitors. They changed my weekly bridge game to protect my health, claiming the excitement might trigger another stroke. Most disturbing of all, Amanda began managing my medications. I had always kept my pills in a daily organizer, maintaining my independence. Now Amanda insisted on preparing them for me, and I noticed I often felt unusually drowsy after taking what she claimed was just my regular blood pressure medication. One day when they were out, I examined the pills in my organizer and noticed they didn't match my prescriptions. Some additional white tablets had been mixed in with my regular medication. I flushed them down the toilet and called my doctor, who confirmed he hadn't prescribed anything new. Someone, most likely, Amanda, had been drugging me. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain I had ever experienced. My own flesh and blood, the little boy I had nursed through chicken pox and taught to ride a bicycle, was now conspiring with his wife to drug me and steal my savings. The maternal love I had always felt for Jason battled with my growing need for self-protection. How had it come to this? As winter turned to spring, Jason and Amanda's grip on my life tightened. One evening, Jason arrived with a stack of documents, his briefcase open on my kitchen table. "Just some routine updates to your accounts, Mom," he explained, flipping through pages covered in small print. "The bank requires these periodically." When I reached for the papers to read them, Amanda appeared with a cup of tea, placing it directly over the documents, creating a small puddle that spread across the top page. "Oh, I'm so clumsy," she exclaimed, dabbing at the spill while simultaneously moving the papers away from me. "Don't worry about the mess, Kaylee. Jason can explain everything you need to know." "It's pretty standard stuff," Jason said dismissively. "Just sign at the flag tabs, and we can get this filed for you." Something in his averted gaze triggered my suspicions. "I'd like to read them first," I insisted. "Mom, there are 27 pages of legal jargon here," Jason sighed, checking his watch. "We need to get these submitted today before the bank closes. Do you really want to spend hours reading financial gobbledygook?" While they were distracted cleaning up the accidental spill, I managed to slip one document into the pocket of my cardigan. Later that night, after they had finally left with my reluctant signatures on most of the papers, I examined the page I had taken. It was a property transfer document that would have signed my house over to Jason with immediate right of occupancy. If I had signed it, I could have been legally removed from my own home. My hands shook as I hid the paper in a hollowed-out book on my bookshelf, a hiding place Frank and I had used for emergency cash. The next morning, Jason called with news that chilled me to the bone. "Good news, Mom. Amanda and I found a nice assisted living facility for you. Cedar Pines. Very exclusive, great care. We can move you in next month." "I'm not moving to any facility," I replied, my voice stronger than I felt. "This is my home, and I'm staying here." His tone hardened slightly. "Mom, you're not safe living alone. What if you fall? What if you have another stroke? The doctor agrees it's for the best." "What doctor?" "I haven't seen any doctor who said that. We discussed it with Dr. Miller last week. He's concerned about your memory issues and living situation." Another lie. I had seen Dr. Miller for my regular checkup just days before, and he had commented on how well I was doing both physically and mentally. The control extended to my transportation next. My car keys disappeared from their hook by the door. "We're keeping your car at our place for now," Jason explained when I asked. "Your reflexes aren't what they used to be, and we don't want you getting into an accident." Without my car, I was effectively stranded in my home unless Jason or Amanda drove me somewhere. My independence was being systematically stripped away. The final straw came when I tried to call my sister Barbara in Florida. I had picked up the phone to dial her number when Amanda appeared, gently taking the receiver from my hand. "Let me help you with that," she said. But instead of dialing Barbara's number, she hung up. "Actually, Barbara called earlier while you were napping. She's going on a cruise and won't be available for a couple of weeks. Isn't that nice for her?" When Amanda left the room, I tried to use my cell phone instead, only to discover it was missing from its charger. They had taken it, cutting off my communication with the outside world. My neighbor Tom, a retired police officer who lived across the street, noticed something was wrong when he saw me attempting to walk to the corner store one afternoon. Jason had appeared almost instantly, steering me back toward the house with a firm grip on my arm. "Everything okay over there?" Kaylee, Tom called from his driveway. "She's fine," Jason answered before I could speak. "Just a little confused about where she was going." Later that evening, Tom knocked on my back door when he noticed Jason's car was gone. His kind face creased with concern when he saw my tearful expression. "What's going on, Kaylee? And don't tell me everything's fine, because I can see it's not." The whole story poured out of me then, all my fears and suspicions about Jason and Amanda's intentions. Tom listened, without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "This is elder abuse. Plain and simple," he said, when I finished echoing Margaret's words. "And it's illegal. You need to protect yourself and your assets." With Tom's help, I formulated a plan. He brought me a prepaid cell phone that I kept hidden in the pocket of my bathrobe, a place Amanda never checked. He helped me document the missing items and kept copies of the property transfer document I had intercepted. Most importantly, he helped me draft a simple but clear note that I could use if Jason and Amanda ever tried to force me to sign financial documents. "Help, I'm under duress," it read in my shaky handwriting. I made several copies, hiding them around the house and in my clothing. "If they take you to the bank or anywhere to sign papers, slip this to someone when they're not looking," Tom advised. "Bank employees are trained to recognize signs of elder financial abuse. They'll know what to do." Despite Tom's help, I felt increasingly isolated and afraid. The son I had raised, the child I had loved unconditionally, was now my greatest threat. How had money corrupted him so completely? Or had Amanda's influence changed him? Either way, I knew I needed to be prepared for their next move, which came sooner than I expected. The confrontation I had been dreading arrived on a Tuesday morning in April. Jason appeared at my door unannounced, Amanda by his side, both dressed more formally than usual. Jason wore the charcoal gray suit he reserved for important client meetings, while Amanda was elegant in a navy blue dress and pearls that looked suspiciously like the ones that had disappeared from my jewelry box. "Good morning, Mom," Jason said, with a brightness that didn't reach his eyes. "Beautiful day, isn't it? We thought we'd take you to the bank today to update your accounts." My heart hammered in my chest. This was it, the moment they would try to get access to my savings. I had prepared for this, rehearsed my responses in my mind countless times, but facing them now, I still felt a surge of fear. "I don't remember scheduling any bank appointment," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Amanda laughed, a tinkling sound without humor. "Oh, Kaylee, you're so forgetful these days. We discussed this last week. It's just routine maintenance on your accounts. Nothing to worry about." "Let me get my purse," I said, using the moment alone to slip one of Tom's prepared notes into the sleeve of my cardigan. I also took the precaution of placing a second note in my shoe in case they searched my pockets. The car ride to First National Bank was tense beneath a veneer of casual conversation. Amanda chatted about the weather, her new haircut, a neighbor's garden renovation, all while her hand rested possessively on Jason's arm. I sat silently in the back seat, going over Tom's instructions in my mind. Stay calm, create no suspicion, wait for the right moment. Make sure the bank employee clearly sees the note. When we arrived, Jason parked near the entrance and came around to help me out, his grip on my arm firm to the point of discomfort. Amanda flanked my other side, creating a human barrier that would make escape impossible. Together they guided me through the glass doors into the cool interior of the bank. "Remember, Mom, this is just routine paperwork," Jason murmured as we approached the teller counter. "No need to make a fuss or ask unnecessary questions." The teller who greeted us was young, perhaps in her mid-20s, with kind eyes and a name tag that read Sarah. She smiled professionally as Jason spoke over me, explaining that we needed to update some account information and make some previously discussed transfers. "My mother has agreed to move her assets into a joint account for easier management," he explained smoothly. "We have all the paperwork ready. She just needs to sign." Sarah's eyes flicked to me, then back to Jason. "I see. Would you like to use one of our private consultation rooms?" "That won't be necessary," Amanda cut in quickly. "This will only take a minute." Jason placed a folder on the counter and extracted several official-looking documents already filled out with sticky tabs marking signature lines. He uncapped an expensive pen and placed it in my hand. "Just sign where indicated, Mom. It's a routine procedure." Amanda leaned close, her smile, fixed fingers digging painfully into my elbow. To anyone watching casually, it might have appeared she was simply steadying an elderly woman, but the pressure was a clear warning. I pretended to fumble with the pen, dropping it on the counter. As I reached to retrieve it, I let my hand brush against Sarah's, simultaneously sliding my concealed note toward her. "I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous about all this paperwork," I said, making eye contact with her as my trembling fingers pushed the note fully into view. Sarah's professionalism never wavered, but I saw her eyes widen slightly as she read the words, "Help, I'm under duress." Without missing a beat, she collected the pen and handed it back to me. "These forms can be complicated. Perhaps Mr. Peterson, our branch manager, could help explain everything in detail. Let me get him for you." "That's really not necessary," Jason said quickly, his voice tight. "We've already reviewed everything." "It will just take a moment," Sarah insisted, picking up her phone. "Mr. Peterson makes himself available for all significant account changes. Bank policy." While we waited, I could feel Jason's growing tension. His fingers drummed impatiently on the counter, and he exchanged meaningful glances with Amanda. They had not anticipated this delay. Mr. Peterson appeared moments later, a tall man with silver hair and an authoritative presence. Sarah had managed to slip him my note, which he kept concealed in his palm. "Good morning," he greeted us warmly. "I understand you're making some changes to your accounts today, Mrs. Winston. Why don't we discuss this in my office? I'd like to make sure we're meeting all your financial needs appropriately." "We've already discussed everything as a family," Jason interjected, placing a hand on my shoulder. "My mother just needs to sign the transfer authorizations. Nevertheless, for transactions of this nature, I'm required to speak with the account holder privately." Mr. Peterson replied, his tone pleasant but firm. "Bank regulations for financial protection, you understand. It will only take a few minutes." "My mother has mobility issues," Amanda objected, "and sometimes she gets confused." It's better if we stay with her. Mr. Peterson's smile remained in place, but his eyes hardened slightly. Our office is fully accessible, and I assure you I'm quite adept at clear communication. Mrs. Winston, would you please come with me? Before Jason or Amanda could raise further objections, 2 security officers appeared nearby, not intervening but making their presence known. Jason's face flushed with anger, but he stepped back, allowing Mr. Maya Paiman Stamen, Bayunat, Peterson, to escort me to his office. Once the door closed behind us, Mr. Peterson's professional demeanor softened with concern. Mrs. Winston, are you being coerced? He asked directly, placing my note on his desk between us. The tears I had been holding back spilled over. Yes, I whispered. My son and his wife are trying to take control of all my money. They've already taken my jewelry, isolated me from friends, hidden my car keys, and even tried to drug me. They want me to sign everything over to them today. Mr. Peterson nodded grimly. Unfortunately, we see this type of elder financial abuse more often than you might think. You're not alone, and you did exactly the right thing by alerting us. What happens now? I asked, glancing nervously toward the door. First, we ensure your immediate safety and the security of your accounts, he explained. With your permission, I'll place an immediate freeze on all your accounts to prevent unauthorized access. Then, if you're comfortable doing so, we can contact the authorities. Financial exploitation of elders is a crime. The thought of involving the police of formally accusing my own son of criminal behavior made my chest tighten, yet I knew it was necessary. I nodded my agreement. While we wait, I'll have Sarah bring some documentation for you to sign actual protective measures for your accounts, not the transfers your son prepared. Would you like some water or tea? The contrast between Mr. Peterson's genuine concern and Jason and Amanda's false solicitude brought fresh tears to my eyes. This stranger was showing me more respect and care than my own family had in months. When Sarah arrived with water and the protective documentation, Mr. Peterson explained each form carefully, ensuring I understood exactly what I was signing. No rushing, no distracting, no pressure, just clear information and respect for my decisions. 20 minutes later, a police officer arrived, followed shortly by a social services representative specialized in elder abuse cases. By then, Jason had become increasingly agitated, demanding to see me and threatening legal action against the bank for undue influence. When I finally emerged from Mr. Peterson's office, flanked by the police officer and social worker, Jason's face contorted with rage and fear. Mom, what have they been telling you? Whatever it is, they're just trying to come between us. We're your family. Sir, please step back, the officer instructed calmly. Mrs. Winston has reported financial exploitation and has provided evidence of attempted fraud. This is ridiculous, Amanda exclaimed, clutching her designer, purse her knuckles white. Kaylee is confused. She has memory problems. Ask her doctor. Actually, the social worker interjected, we've already spoken with Dr. Miller by phone. He confirms Mrs. Winston is mentally competent and has expressed no concerns about her cognitive function. He was quite surprised to hear claims to the contrary. The security cameras captured everything: Jason's furious protests, Amanda's dramatic tears, and my own quiet dignity as I refused to be manipulated any further. Those same cameras had recorded their earlier behavior: the painful grip on my arm, the intimidating postures, all of which would later serve as evidence. As we left the bank, Jason made one last desperate attempt, his voice cracking with what sounded like genuine emotion. Mom, please. You don't understand. We were just trying to protect you. I turned to face my son, my heart breaking, but my resolve firm. No, Jason, you were trying to steal from me. Your father would be so ashamed. The look of shock on his face told me that somewhere beneath the greed and manipulation, a part of him still recognized the gravity of what he had done, but it was too late for easy forgiveness. As the police officer helped me into her car, I didn't look back. The hours following the bank incident passed in a blur of statements, paperwork, and compassionate professionals guiding me through unfamiliar procedures. The police officer, Detective Lisa Ramirez, took me to the station where I gave a formal statement about Jason and Amanda's actions over the past months. "You're doing the right thing, Mrs. Winston," Detective Ramirez assured me as I hesitated over signing the statement. "I know it's difficult to take legal action against family, but what they did was criminal. Elder financial abuse is a serious offense." My hand trembled as I signed my name, officially setting in motion a criminal investigation against my only child. Part of me still couldn't believe it had come to this. The little boy, who had once made me handmade Mother's Day cards, was now the subject of a police report for attempted fraud and exploitation. Miss Delgado, the social services representative, arranged for an emergency protective order to keep Jason and Amanda away from me and my property. "This temporary restraining order will remain in effect until your court date," she explained, her voice gentle but matter-of-fact. "Neither of them can legally contact you or come within 100 yards of your home." "What about my belongings?" I asked, thinking of the jewelry and family heirlooms that had disappeared. Some things are irreplaceable with sentimental value beyond any dollar amount. "We'll include that in the police investigation," Detective Ramirez assured me. "If we can prove they took those items, we can get them back for you." By late afternoon, the emotional and physical toll of the day had left me exhausted. Miss Delgado arranged for me to stay temporarily with my sister Barbara, who had flown in immediately upon receiving the call about what had happened. We hadn't been particularly close in recent years, our relationship reduced to holiday phone calls and occasional visits, but she hadn't hesitated when she learned I was in trouble. "I always thought there was something off about Amanda," Barbara said, as she helped me settle into her guest room that evening. "She asked me about your finances the first time I met her, wanted to know if our parents had left you anything valuable. I should have warned you." "Jason was so happy with her," I replied, my voice breaking. "I didn't want to see the warning signs." The next morning, while Barbara prepared breakfast, my new prepaid phone rang. It was Jason calling from an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mom, you've made a terrible mistake," he began, his voice alternating between anger and pleading. "Amanda and I were only trying to help you manage your affairs. You're making this into something it wasn't. The restraining order says you shouldn't be contacting me," I replied, my heart aching despite my resolve. "That's ridiculous. I'm your son. This is all a misunderstanding that's gotten out of control. Those bank people manipulated you, made you suspicious of your own family." "Did they manipulate me into seeing my missing jewelry on Amanda's wrist? Did they make me imagine the property transfer document you tried to trick me into signing?" His tone changed, then becoming harder. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way, Mom. Drop these ridiculous accusations now or we'll have you declared incompetent. No one will believe an old woman with a history of stroke over her concerned son and daughter-in-law." Barbara, who had been listening from the doorway, took the phone from my shaking hand. "This is Barbara Cayley's sister. She has witnesses, documentation, and bank security footage. Touch one more penny of her money or threaten her again, and I'll personally make sure you face the maximum penalties. Don't call this number again." She hung up and wrapped me in a hug as I dissolved into tears. Later that day, we met with Diane Hollis, a financial advisor specializing in elder protection, who helped me implement additional safeguards for my accounts. "We'll set up a financial caretaker arrangement with Barbara as your designated representative," she explained. "Unlike power of attorney, this arrangement maintains your control while adding an extra layer of protection, requiring dual authorization for large withdrawals or asset transfers." "What if something happens to me?" I asked, thinking of my stroke. I always assumed Jason would handle things if I became incapacitated. "We can designate Barbara or another trusted person for that role instead," Diane assured me. "The important thing is that you're making these decisions yourself proactively, rather than having them forced upon you." By the end of the week, we had secured my financial accounts, filed the necessary legal paperwork for the restraining order, and arranged for a security service to check on my house regularly while I stayed with Barbara. We also scheduled a consultation with Janet Davis, an elder law attorney, to discuss long-term legal protections and the potential criminal case against Jason and Amanda. It was during this meeting that I finally broke down completely, the full weight of my son's betrayal crashing down on me all at once. "He's my only child," I sobbed, clutching a tissue in my trembling hands. "How could he do this to me? Where did I go wrong as a mother?" "You didn't do anything wrong, Mrs. Winston," Attorney Davis said firmly. "Unfortunately, I see cases like yours with alarming frequency. Financial exploitation of elders often comes from family members, people in positions of trust. It doesn't reflect on your parenting or your relationship before this happened." "Will he go to prison?" I asked, uncertain what answer I wanted to hear. "It depends on many factors, including whether you wish to pursue full criminal charges, the value of assets already taken, and their willingness to make restitution. We have options ranging from restraining orders and civil judgments to criminal prosecution." That evening, Barbara revealed something that made everything clearer and simultaneously more painful. "I didn't want to tell you this earlier when you were already so upset," she began hesitantly. "But Jason approached me 6 months ago asking for a loan of $50,000 for what he called a can't-miss investment opportunity. When I asked for details, he became evasive. I refused, and he was furious. He never mentioned any investment to me," I said, puzzled. "I think he and Amanda are in financial trouble," Barbara continued. "I did some checking after that call. Amanda has a history of this, Kaylee. Her former mother-in-law filed a police report 4 years ago alleging that Amanda had stolen jewelry and attempted to access her bank accounts while serving as her caregiver after a hip replacement." "Why didn't anyone tell me this before they got married?" I asked, feeling sick. "The charges were dropped when the items mysteriously reappeared. Jason probably never knew. And by the time I found out they were already married, I should have told you anyway. I'm so sorry." The revelation that Amanda had done this before, that my situation wasn't unique, left me reeling. Had she targeted Jason specifically because of me seeing him as access to my modest savings? Had she manipulated my son into betraying everything his father and I had taught him about honesty and integrity? Or had the potential for easy money simply revealed a character flaw that had always existed within him? I had no answers, only questions that haunted my sleepless nights as I struggled to come to terms with what my life had become and how I would rebuild it from here. 2 weeks after the incident at the bank, I met with Lisa Daniels, an elder law attorney recommended by the Senior Services Center. Her office was warm and inviting, deliberately designed to put elderly clients at ease, with comfortable chairs, good lighting, and none of the intimidating legal tomes that often adorn lawyers' shelves. "You've already taken the most difficult step," Miss Daniels assured me after reviewing my case. Many victims of elder financial abuse never report it, especially when family members are involved. The shame and emotional pain keep them silent until it's too late to recover their assets. "I still feel like I've failed somehow," I admitted. "Like I should have been able to prevent this or handle it within the family." "That's exactly what financial abusers count on," she replied firmly. "They exploit family bonds and your reluctance to make the situation public. But you've shown tremendous courage, and now we can take concrete steps to protect you going forward." Under Miss Daniels' guidance, I revoked all previous powers of attorney that named Jason as my representative and created new documents designating my sister Barbara instead. We updated my will, removing Jason as primary beneficiary and executor, another painful but necessary step. I also created an advanced healthcare directive that gave Barbara, not Jason, authority to make medical decisions if I became incapacitated. "What about my house?" I asked. "Jason has a key, and I'm afraid to go back there alone." "We'll address that too," Miss Daniels assured me. "First, let's get those locks changed." My neighbor Tom proved invaluable once again. He coordinated with a locksmith to change all exterior locks and install a simple security system with cameras at the front and back doors. He even arranged for a local handyman to install better lighting around the property and trim the shrubs near windows that could provide hiding places for intruders. "I'm retired, not dead," Tom joked when I tried to thank him. "Gives me something useful to do besides yelling at squirrels in my bird feeder." By the end of March, I felt secure enough to move back into my own home, though Barbara stayed with me for the first week. Together, we cataloged missing items for the police investigation and reorganized the house to remove painful reminders of Jason's betrayal. "You don't have to erase him completely," Barbara said gently, noticing how I hesitated over a family photo from Jason's college graduation. "He's still your son, despite everything." "I don't know who he is anymore," I replied, but I kept the photo, placing it in a drawer instead of discarding it entirely. Some emotional ties couldn't be severed so easily, no matter the hurt. As spring bloomed outside my windows, I began the process of reclaiming my life and independence. I joined a support group for survivors of elder abuse at the senior center, finding unexpected comfort in sharing my story with others who truly understood. Many had experienced similar betrayals by family members, their stories echoing mine in ways both validating and heartbreaking. "The hardest part," confessed Eleanor, an 80-year-old widow whose nephew had drained her savings, "is learning to trust again. Not just other people, but your own judgment." I knew exactly what she meant. Every decision now came with second-guessing, a voice whispering, "What if you're being fooled again?" But through the group's support, I gradually began to rebuild my confidence. One unexpected source of support came from Jessica, Jason's ex-wife. She reached out through Barbara, asking to meet for coffee. Initially reluctant, I finally agreed, meeting her at a cafe midway between our homes. "I'm so sorry about what Jason and Amanda did," she began, her expression sincere. "I wish I could say I was surprised." "You knew this might happen?" I asked, surprised. Jessica sighed. "When we were married, Jason was always responsible with money. But he had this weakness for get-rich-quick schemes, investments that promised big returns with minimal risk. He lost quite a bit of our savings before I finally put my foot down." "Frank always handled our investments," I said slowly. "After he died, Jason took over managing the portfolio. I never questioned his decisions." "And Amanda has expensive tastes," Jessica added. "Designer everything, luxury vacations, the newest car model every year. When I met her at a school function for our son last year, She was bragging about their investment in some exclusive real estate development. It sounded suspect to me then. This new perspective on Jason's character was painful but illuminating. Perhaps the seeds of his betrayal had always been there, a fundamental flaw that Amanda had simply nurtured and exploited. The legal process moved forward slowly. Jason and Amanda hired an aggressive attorney who attempted to paint me as mentally declining and their actions as protective rather than exploitative. But the evidence was overwhelming: bank security footage, my doctor's testimony about my mental competence, the unauthorized pills found in my medication organizer, and finally receipts discovered in Jason's possession for selling several pieces of my missing jewelry. Through it all, I maintained the painful boundary of the restraining order, despite Jason's attempts to contact me. His emails alternated between angry accusations, tearful pleas, and grudging semi-apologies that always included phrases like "if you felt hurt" or "if you misunderstood our intentions," rather than taking genuine responsibility. Classic manipulation, observed Miss Garcia, the counselor at the senior center. He's trying everything to regain control, but never actually acknowledging the harm he caused. 6 weeks after the bank incident, I returned to First National to personally thank Mr. Peterson and Sarah for their intervention. Sarah blushed at my gratitude. "I was just doing my job," she insisted. "We have training specifically for recognizing signs of financial exploitation." "Well, your training saved my life savings," I replied, squeezing her hand. Not all tellers would have noticed or taken action on a note from a confused-looking old lady. Mr. Peterson joined us, his manner warm but professional. "Unfortunately, we see these situations more often than you might think. Family financial exploitation is one of the fastest-growing forms of elder abuse." "I still can't believe it happened to me," I admitted. "I always thought I was too smart to be victimized." "It has nothing to do with intelligence, Mrs. Winston," he assured me. "The most educated, successful people can become victims because the exploitation relies on emotional manipulation, not intellectual deception. The people you trust most are the ones with the greatest power to harm you." His words resonated deeply, helping me understand that my victimization wasn't a reflection of personal failure or weakness. With this realization, I made a decision that would shape the next chapter of my life. I would transform my pain into purpose by becoming an advocate for elder financial protection in my community. 6 months after that fateful day at the bank, my life had transformed in ways I never could have imagined. The criminal case against Jason and Amanda had been resolved through a plea agreement, sparing me the trauma of a trial. They were required to return all stolen items, make financial restitution, complete community service hours, and attend financial counseling and ethics courses. The restraining order remained in place, modified to allow limited supervised contact if I chose to permit it. More importantly, I had found a new purpose that helped channel my pain into positive action. After sharing my story at a community forum on elder abuse, I was invited to become a volunteer speaker for the county's Elder Protection Program. Twice a month, I visited senior centers, retirement communities, and church groups to share my experience and warn others about the signs of financial exploitation. If it could happen to me, a retired teacher with a good education and a skeptical nature, it could happen to anyone, I would tell my audiences of attentive seniors. The key is recognizing the warning signs before it's too late. My presentations always included practical advice: maintain separate accounts, review bank statements, regularly be suspicious of sudden changes in family members' interest in your finances, and perhaps most importantly, have a trusted circle of friends or advisors outside your immediate family. Isolation is the abuser's greatest weapon, I would explain. They want you dependent solely on them for information, transportation, and social connection. Maintaining your independence is your best protection. The work was healing in ways therapy alone could never have achieved. Each time I helped another elder protect themselves, each time I received a note from someone who had recognized their own situation in my story and taken action, a little piece of my broken heart mended. My former students now, adults with families of their own, rallied around me when they learned what had happened. They organized a surprise gathering at Pinewood Elementary, where I had taught for so many years. The current principal gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award, and former students shared memories of lessons I had taught them, both academic and personal. "Mrs. Winston taught me to stand up for myself," said Michael, now a father of 3 and a successful architect. "In 3rd grade, I was being bullied, and she told me, 'Your voice matters, Michael. Use it.' I've never forgotten that." Their support reminded me that while one family relationship had been damaged, perhaps irreparably, I had touched hundreds of lives positively throughout my teaching career. My legacy wasn't defined by Jason's betrayal. The most complex part of my healing journey involved Jason himself. 3 months after the court case concluded, Amanda filed for divorce, claiming Jason had hidden financial problems from her. Whether this was true, or simply an attempt to distance herself from the consequences of their actions, I couldn't know for certain. What I did know was that Jason, now living in a small apartment and working under the supervision of a court-appointed financial manager, had begun sending me letters that seemed genuinely remorseful. "I don't expect forgiveness," he wrote in one. "What I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that I'm in therapy, trying to understand how I could have betrayed my own mother, the person who always supported me unconditionally. I realize now that I've had unhealthy attitudes about money for years, viewing it as the solution to all problems rather than just a tool. Amanda encouraged these tendencies, but the weakness was already in me." After consulting with my therapist and Barbara, I eventually agreed to a supervised meeting with Jason at the counseling center. Seeing him in person noticeably thinner and with dark circles under his eyes provoked a complex storm of emotions, maternal concern mixed with lingering fear and anger. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, simply, his voice breaking. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am truly deeply sorry. Why I asked the question that had haunted me for months. Why would you do this to me? I would have helped you if you needed money." It wasn't just about the money, he admitted after a long pause. It was about control, about proving I could be successful on my own terms. Dad was always so perfect with finances, and after he died, I felt this pressure to measure up. Then Amanda came along with all these ideas about investments and opportunities, and it snowballed from there. He shook his head. "But that's just explaining, not excusing. There's no excuse for what I did. Our relationship remains a work in progress. The trust that was broken cannot be instantly restored, but we are taking small, carefully supervised steps towards some new form of connection. Whether we can ever rebuild a true mother-son relationship remains to be seen, but the honest communication is itself a form of healing." My friendship with Sarah, the young bank teller, who noticed my note, has become one of the unexpected blessings from this ordeal. She visits me for tea every few weeks, bringing homemade cookies and stories from her college classes in financial management. In many ways, she has become the daughter I never had, her genuine care and respect a balm for my wounded spirit. The financial safeguards I've implemented with Barbara's help have given me renewed confidence in managing my affairs. I've learned to use online banking, checking my accounts daily for any unusual activity. My regular meetings with my financial advisor ensure that my modest savings continue to support my independence while growing enough to cover future needs. On my 70th birthday, the members of my Elder Abuse Survivors Support Group surprised me with a celebration at our meeting place. Eleanor, who had become a dear friend, presented me with a journal bound in soft blue leather. "For recording your wisdom," she explained, "and for reminding yourself on dark days how far you've come." That evening alone in my home, that truly felt like my own again, I opened the journal and wrote my first entry. Today I am 70 years old. I am a survivor, not a victim. I have learned that family can hurt you more deeply than anyone else, but also that friendship can appear in unexpected places. I have learned that standing up for yourself is not selfishness, but self-preservation. Most importantly, I have learned that true freedom comes not from independence alone, but from creating boundaries that protect your spirit as well as your assets. The journey through betrayal to recovery has been the most painful of my life, but also the most transformative. I am not the same woman I was a year ago. I am stronger, wiser, more compassionate toward others' struggles, and more protective of my own worth. If my story helps even one person avoid the pain I experienced or find their way through it to the other side, then nothing has been wasted. The peace I have found is not perfect or complete, but it is genuine, built on self-knowledge and hard-won wisdom rather than naive trust. Each day brings new challenges and opportunities for growth, but I face them now with confidence in my resilience and faith in my judgment. The woman who slipped that desperate note to a bank teller is still part of me, but she is no longer all of me. I am whole again, scars and all. If you've ever faced betrayal by someone you trusted, or if you're caring for an elderly parent or are getting older yourself, I hope my story has given you some insight or comfort. Have you ever had to stand up to family for your own protection, or noticed warning signs of financial exploitation? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story helped you in any way, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary, and you deserve to be safe and respected at every age. Thank you for listening to my journey.